So I'm going to do something I haven't done in this channel in a long time. And I'm going to admit I was wrong. I was wrong about backward compatibility. When I first heard about the announcement, I was like, who cares? And I have since 180'd reverse course to my original thoughts. It's actually a really cool service. And I think you don't realize, well, I'm not going to say you, because you may have already realized it was a cool idea. I didn't. But I do now. As you think about where we go in the future with consoles, right? You realize the things you miss out on. I can't tell you the number of comparisons. My group of friends on our Slack server have talked and reminisced about old Battlefield things that we liked. We really like this feature in Battlefield 3. We really like this feature in Battlefield 4, but it's missing in 2042. The ability on a PC, obviously, to go back and play these old games is just as old as time. But on consoles, it's a little different story. And I don't think until we realize what's new, what's new is old again, what's old is new again. I'm sure you've heard both of those things interchanged before. However, the point is, it's nice to know that with Xbox, your investment is somewhat protected. So why are we looking at Spencer Peralt? Who the hell is Spencer Peralt? Well, you've probably already read it while I've been rambling. Spencer Peralt is basically the reason why Xbox has backward compatibility. He was the principal force behind that. And there's a really, really good article. It's very dated. This is October 23rd, 2017. But a very, very interesting old article. I'm going to post a link to this. I don't know why I found it off the Southeast Asia IGN link. It's actually an American URL as well. I mean, this is a .com, so don't worry about that. But very, very, very interesting article here talking about the history of this. And it details what went into Xbox's thought with backward compatibility and kind of the promise. And there's our boy right there. Look at him smiling, laughing, knowing that he has done the impossible. He probably got an incredible promotion from this. Good for him. He really deserves it. But it boils down to this, the culminating moment. E3 2015, this is on mute, you're not going to hear audio. E3 2015, this is when Big Daddy Phil stands in front of the world and announces to all of us that backward compatibility is in fact coming. And this was a feature, a core feature with the Xbox One hardware. Again, at the time when I heard this, I kind of rolled my eyes and scoffed. And I thought to myself, well, this is really stupid. No one cares about this because why are they so focused on playing old games? The future. And this is at the time when Xbox, keep in mind, was not really making very many good games. We've seen years and years gaps between the Gears games and the Forza games and the Halo games. They didn't really have a lot going on. They were reeling from the nonsense that was Don Matrick and some of the horrendous decisions they made. They were definitely playing off their back foot here. Sony was firing on all cylinders and doing very well with tons of new IP. However, Xbox did a smart thing, and by being able to play your old games was revolutionary in of itself that they just worked. I think we all remember, at least I do fondly, selling all of my Nintendo games so I could afford a Super Nintendo. Had I been able to keep my Nintendo games on my Super Nintendo, I probably would have been a dummy and sold them. I did it again on N64. I did it again on GameCube. The idea is that your hardware was always limited to the media. The media was always limited to the hardware, except on PC, of course. PC Master Race for life. But you see what I'm saying, right? So interesting that Xbox was able to kind of double down on this, and not only to bring old games back to the forefront, but to run them better than we saw before. And this was something that was very revolutionary. So you're looking at games that had very poor performance. You're talking games that were sub 30 FPS. You're talking about blurry textures. I'm not going to say 240p range, but definitely the, sub HD range for clarity and for resolution. And just through the power of the hardware and what Spencer Peralt and the team was able to engineer, we were able to actually take these games and modernize them and bring them to the forefront with 60 frames a second in many cases, auto writing the color scheme to give it what they called auto HDR. So it got more brightness and clarity. It started to look really pretty on these OLED computer screens and TV monitors and such that we had, right? This is something we didn't necessarily have before. Then obviously being able to have all the comforts of present day screen sharing and uploading and streaming and everything. And before you know it, you now have access to this insane catalog of games that you probably, like me, put on your shelf and never really looked at again. So Xbox released a really cool list. Actually, let me jump to the list here very briefly. Quite a list here. I want to show you guys the list. I'm not even going to scroll through it all here. I mean, I am, but this is 500 entries alone here. This is 500 games, and I know you can't read it. I'm not expecting you to, of games that are released on the service. And there's a second page as well. You can go to the second page here, and there's another, I believe, 500 more. Now, these are games that have received, obviously, the certified Xbox seal of approval. Okay, maybe not 500 on the second page, but these have received the certified Xbox seal of approval. Some of the cool features these games include, obviously being able to play what you own. You can keep your saves, your add-ons, your achievements, your gamer score. Increased all the enhanced features that I mentioned, like the Xbox DVR, screenshots, streaming via Windows 10 on your PC, or you could use the Twitch app on your console. Being able to play with friends, it works, and just being able to have those memories preserved. And not only that, but there's a lot of enhancements too. Some games have 60 frame per second enhancements. Some games have that auto HDR, increased clarity, increased load times, increased draw distances, and they look like totally different games. There's a great frequently asked questions. This site has been around for a while. This is hosted on Major Nelson's blog, but this is a very well-known place to go. You're like, I wonder if my game supports it. Well, amongst all the other things that Microsoft did yesterday and just blew everyone's expectations away, I know me particularly, with the shadow drop of Halo Infinite, the best unkept secret in the state of the lands. Microsoft announced that they had added 70 new backward compatible games, some of which do receive that FPS boost, as I mentioned. A lot of them already just include that native resolution support, loading times, all that nice Xbox wrapper around these old games. And some of the notable franchises include Max Payne that they added, F.E.A.R. that they added, Skate, Dead or Alive, Star Wars Jedi Knight, and Otage. I'm not sure what Otage is, but hey, I'm sure I can, and maybe it's a phenomenal experience. As I mentioned, FPS boot, auto HDR, faster loading times, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, unfortunately, the thing they didn't mention, and this is why I'm doing this video here, is that this is it. They are pulling the plug on this. The latest and final addition of 70 plus titles to the backward compatibility was possible through the passion and feedback from our community. Your constant requests for specific titles encouraged us to partner with the original creators to preserve all these games over so many Xbox generations. However, we have reached our limit and we are not doing this anymore, primarily due to licensing, legal, technical constraints. Thank you for being part of the journey. So unfortunately, the list ends here. There will be no new announcements. I think they've done a great job. I did skim through the catalog briefly. There are a lot of great titles out there that I think warrant a second, third, fourth look. I know that for me, Fallout 76, I'm sorry, not Fallout 76, Fallout New Vegas is a game that I just cannot get into. It just does not look good on my Xbox One X. Maybe it'll look great on my Xbox Series X and I'll check it out. But there's a lot of older games here that I just look at. Gears, perfect example of like, wow, I really miss those memories of those games. Now I can play them with modern graphics. Yes, they still look slightly dated, but they're going to run smoother. They're going to load faster. They're going to be prettier. So that's awesome. But unfortunately, the list ends here. And I got to say, like as I said at the top of this video, I was wrong. I really, really feel bad that I was so negative on this for so long. I don't know if it was just my old age. I'm going to be 40 here in the next 6 months or so. Who's counting? I don't know if it's just looking back and thinking about all the times I have to rebuy games, particularly on the Nintendo hardware. Just picking up the Nintendo Classic, and I'm like, oh, I get to buy that again. It makes you kind of wonder what the deal is with that. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of all of those things. But the fact that, Xbox is still making new stuff, but they support such a diverse library from the old games when you look at their competition with like what PlayStation can and doesn't bring to the table. Some games they have support for, but a lot they don't. Nintendo obviously very invested in the eShop and wanting you to rebuy these experiences from the Wii to the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch to whatever piece of hardware is next. The fact that Xbox is able to figure this out and it's just embedded in the service is phenomenal. And I encourage you guys to, go back and look through this list. I am going to bet you're going to find a game in here that's just going to make you say, ooh, I really like that game. For me, no doubt about it, Elder Scrolls Morrowind. And this is an old one. But this is a game I want to play again. And I know it's going to look so much better than the crappy Morrowind I played years and years and years ago. But now you have this here, and it's very cool. So I will post links to all 5 of these tabs that I showed in the description box below. Do yourself a favor, look through this list, and then do yourself a favor and read this article. It's very fascinating to see the history of what I now consider a very beloved piece of technology. And I'm sure if he made it all the way to the end, my true love, Brent Cassina, is somewhere out there laughing at me, and that's okay. I hope you guys found this video informative, and if not, that's okay. I'll make another one tomorrow, and we'll try again. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.